Hello there everyone, it's Matt the Warrior here, and today we are going to be playing some more Hearthstone. This is actually February 28th, the end of the month, and Season 3 will be ending soon. So I wanted to go ahead and do a special video to show you guys my decks that I've been running throughout most of Season 3. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my collection here and show you them. These are the 9 decks. The only one that I have used that isn't in here is Giants Paladin, made by Koyuki, a legendary ranked player. But for the most part, this is what I've used, and I've pretty much exclusively used the Druid for ranking. I've done a lot constructed this season. My best was getting up to rank 8 and 3 stars, I believe. But I would have pushed to legendary. I think I'm good enough with the deck to get there, or at least get close to it, but I'm this much shorter, and by the time I was finally up that high, I had a little less than a week. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my decks, because I like them, and I'm probably going to change them as the meta is always changing, and I just wanted to show you what I'm running. A lot of them are more basic along with the meta, but some of them are fun, like this one here. The Beast Within is a deck I made right after crafting Onyxia, and this is the 3rd iteration of it. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you every single card or how the strategy works. If you guys would like to see a video like that for a specific deck, please go ahead and tell me and I'll do it. But the idea behind this deck is it's essentially a normal Druid deck. You just get minions out there, you control the board in the early game, you use things like Wrath and Swipe to clear aggro heavy decks, and once you get around turn 4, turn 5, you stabilize a bit, and then you get into the late game and you have things like Ragnaros and Ancient of Lawrence and Arius. And the big finisher, the big combo that's nice to get out, is Onyxia and Savage Roar. You play Onyxia turn 9, you fill up your side of the board, and then you play Savage Roar the next turn, or if you're really lucky, double Savage Roar, and all of your whelps get to be really big and you hit for a lot of damage. There's also double Force of Natures as opposed to 1 Force of Nature and 1 Savage Roar, so you can do the big 14 damage combo that's popular in Druid decks. And it's a very combo-oriented deck, and it's not amazing if you're trying to get up to legendary or anything, but it works fairly well in ranked, and it's fun to play, so I enjoy that deck a lot. The next deck is my main deck. Defender of the Wild is what I've named it, and I think with the exception of maybe one card, it's the exact same deck as the Strifecrow Druid. I had tried using my own decks for Druid at first, and they weren't bad. I actually did fairly well with them, got up to around 15, but it wasn't amazing either. And I tried other variations of decks. Just a few slight cards here and there are the only differences. I don't like the Watcher Druid, I don't like the Ancient Watcher, but this generic Strifecrow Druid I like a lot. Sorry for Skype, I forgot to turn it off. I never get messages though. I love this deck. It works really well for me. It's very control oriented. I can make some taunters. I love getting out Innervate, Chillwind Yeti, turn 1 if I have the coin, or turn 2. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. It's a very good all-round deck, and it's amazing in the current meta. And with Druid being one of my top 3 favorite classes, and for a while being my favorite, I'm very pleased to get to use this. Season 4, I may start out using this, but there's another deck that I made on my own that I'm also interested in using, which is the Paladin one, and we'll get to that soon. This deck is Smash. It's your generic control warrior. It's more geared towards aggro. It's almost identical to a build of control warrior that I found on a forum. I look at a lot of Hearthstone sites. I've done a lot of research while playing this game, and it's helped me to get a lot better. I wouldn't say I'm great by any means. I don't even know if I'd be good. I'd like to think that, but I'm not sure. I definitely think I'm an average player though, and I do decent, and I think I can get up to legendary, and my deck building skills are getting a little bit better, and my playing skills, and it just takes practice. This deck focuses on, instead of rushing, you survive to the late game. And the way you do that is with things like Armor Smith, Whirlwind combos. You get card draw with Acolyte of Pain, Whirlwind. You can use Shield Block to gain armor, get some card draw. Use Shield Slam right after that to kill big minions. You armor up any turn that you don't have an amazing play, and you have your Fiery War Axes for board control. It counters rush checks very well. Against other control decks, it depends on the matchup, it depends on the draws, but it's pretty good all around. I switched out one Earthen Ring Farseer for a Brawl, because I find that in certain situations that can be just amazing to have. And overall, I just really like this deck. I play it fairly well. It's one of my favorite decks to run. I think my favorite classes are Druid, Warrior, and Paladin. I like mid-range control druids, I like control warriors, sometimes even mid-range and aggro warriors, and I really love control paladins. So that leads me into my next deck, and this is one I created on my own and I've refined, and I think it works okay in the current meta. I like it a lot. It focuses on surviving. It's definitely a control deck. You survive to the late game. And I have things such as Holy Light, True Silver Champion, Guardian of Kings, and Land Hands for heals. I think overall I have 6, 12, 18... I have 26 healing in this deck. And I don't have a lot to do turn 2. Most of the time turn 2 I'll drop a Nat Pagal, or I will use my hero power for a recruit. Turn 3 I have some options with the Harvest Golems and the Outdoor Peacekeeper. Turn 4 is when things get good though. True Silver Champion, Consecration, which I don't use most of the time on turn 4. Chillwind Yeti, Defender of Argus. This was a new addition to the deck. I had just had Sun Fury Protectors, but the Defenders make a huge difference when facing aggro and in getting to the later game. And the main reason I like Paladins are their huge heals and their full board clears through equality. Wild Pyromancer quality combo is amazing. It's cheap, 4 mana to clear the entire board. It clears your minions too, but ideally with this type of deck you don't have many minions on the board and you're okay with doing that. You can do Equality followed by Consecration, Equality Avenging Wrath. There's so many combos, and then you have your finishers like Karin, Ragnaros, Tyrion, and Guardian of Kings I'd consider a finisher too. I don't have Alexstrasza in here, which would be either a big healer or a big finisher, because I've found it can be a dead card in your hand sometimes. If your health is above 15 and their health is below 15, you don't want to play it. You don't want to heal them or reduce your own health, and I don't like having a card that's situational in this deck. I found this works pretty well. My most difficult matchup had been Control Warrior, and the addition of Defenders of Argus and Big Game Hunter made a huge difference. So I like this deck a lot. It's my own, and I'd like to be able to try to use it in Season 4 in the meta to see how well it works. Moving on is Elemental Assault. My Shaman deck, it's a very generic Shaman. Most Shaman decks you see in the current meta are very similar. There's just a few variations. Some will have Stormforge Axes, some won't. Some will have double Flame Tongues. Some will have double Lava Bursts, double Mana Tides. Just depends on what you're running. I wanted to add Ragnaros and Alakir in here because I think they're both good finishers. I don't have Leroy because this is more of a mid-range focused Shaman. Feral Spirit is great for board control. Stormforge Axe I like for board control. The Rockbiter weapon is great for finishers or for board control. Earth Shock, just everything the Shaman has is amazing. I never liked it. I've even said before in previous videos I don't like it because of the overload mechanic. But as I've learned more about the class, I've learned how to use overload, and for a while it was arguably the best or the second best class in the meta. Druid has held up there pretty firm, and Warlock's up there now too, but Shaman is definitely good with things like Hex and your massive board clears for cheap, like Lightning Storm, and just everything that the class has to offer is really good. It's a fun class to play, and it takes a little bit to learn, but once you learn how to run it, it's pretty interesting. This deck, my mage deck, Blast G, is one that I made. Trump has actually popularized a free mage, and I see it a lot in the ladder now. Not a ton, but a good amount. This isn't that. Before, I had seen Trump stream and him get to legendary on EU with a free mage. I liked the idea of things like Amani Berserker, Raging Worgen, a few similar things, and after having seen it, I added in a few cards and decided to play the mage a little bit differently. But for the most part, this is very similar to the deck he runs. I don't know if he has a pay goal in there. I don't have any Acolyte of Pains. I switched out a few cards. I have a Cairn, and I wanted to add the big finishers. Archmage Andonitis is great for fireballs. It gives you some big burst damage, and he's a decent minion. Ragnaros just goes with the whole Blasty theme, and he can be a big finisher. And I think Pyroblast is really expensive, but there's a few times in games that run late where you're like, if I had a Pyroblast, I would win right now because they have 10 or less health, and I find it to be a good card to have as a finisher if you need it. So this is my variation of the mage, and I like it. It's not amazing. Mage isn't amazing in the current meta. Excuse me, but it's fun, and it can be decent. Next we have Please Nerf Me. It's the generic hunter that everyone is running in the meta. Trackings, Abusive Sergeants, just a couple of turn 1 drops, a lot of turn 2 drops, the Starving Buzzard to Unleash the Hounds combo, as well as Timberwolf to boost your hounds, Arcane Golems, Wolf Rider, Leroy Jenkins as a big finisher. The highest cost card is a 4-drop, and there's only one of those. It's a very cheap deck to play, and it can rush you down fast, and it's been in the meta for, I think, this entire month. It's been leading the meta pretty well. There are decks that counter it well. Druid counters it well. Warrior Control is the counter for it. It's amazing for it. And it's not a deck that I personally want to play in ranked, but it is nice to play once in a while. I have so many decks because I like to be able to play things once in a while, just mix it up for fun. And it also helps you to learn what you're playing against. If you know how to play the deck that is kicking your ass, then chances are you'll be able to deal some damage back to it. So this is the generic hunter. I don't like how good that combo is. I don't know if it should be nerfed. The name is Please Nerf Me, but I don't care for it. The next one is Murlocs. There's been several iterations of Murlocs throughout the game, from what I've read and heard on streams and whatnot, but this is the one that I enjoy running the most. I added in Power Overwhelmings and Soulfires, which I hadn't previously had. I took out Stealth Imp for the Power Overwhelmings, and I added in the Leroy once I crafted him, and it rushes you down really, really fast. The cards have great synergy with each other, giving each other attack boosts, attack and health boosts, giving all of the other ones +2 health. Then you have things like Knife Juggler. Every time you drop a Murloc, it deals 1 damage, so it can serve as board clear or as additional damage. Soulfire and Power Overwhelming help with big finishers. Abusive Sergeant can also do the same thing. Leroy, Murkai, big finishers, and then, you know, with the buffs and just everything here, you can kill your opponent turn 5 or sooner. The goal is to kill them by turn 7, I'd say, 8 at the latest. If you don't have them dead by then, chances are you're not going to win that game. Once you run out of cards in your hand, you can keep tapping and getting 2 cards every turn, but you do wear down your own life, and it's very much you have to win right away or you're going to lose. So Murloc games are fast, and I don't run in ranked really, but it's fun to play, and it's annoying to play against, but it's fun. And this deck is one that I made myself. It's Legendary Giants. I have 2 Mountain Giants, 2 Molten Giants. Where are the other cards I'm looking for? 2 Faceless, 2 Sun Fury, and 2 Sun Fury Protectors, and 2 Summoning Portals. Those are the only cards that aren't legendaries. With the addition of Leroy and a few other legendaries in here, I've gotten myself to the point where I have 19 neutral legendaries, and 7 class legendaries. I'm only missing the priest and rogue, and I'm missing 8 neutral legendaries. And only 1 or 2 of them are like really good. So I just put all the legendaries in here. I saw Total Biscuit's legendary deck video, and it was fun to watch him play that. So this is my version with the legendaries I have. I put in the giants, which makes it fun and actually can be kind of deadly. And then there's Sun Fairy Protectors to give them taunt and summoning portals to get things out faster, and it just works really well together. It's not something you want to play seriously. It's definitely a fun deck. It's not something that will stay in my deck list either. I just enjoy playing with it, messing around, and if you have a lot of legendaries, I'd say go ahead and make a legendary deck, because you'll have a blast, especially if you're playing with friends. It can be a ton of fun. So those are my Season 3 decks. I imagine this list will change. I will definitely be removing the first one, the Nixie deck, and the Legendary Giants, just because they're strictly fun decks. Probably the Mage. I don't know if I'll play these all that much, but the decks that I think I will actually run seriously in Season 4 are my Druid, my Paladin. I'd like to be able to do the Warrior and the Shaman, but I'll probably just focus on the Druid and Paladin. If the Paladin doesn't work out, I'll switch to the Druid and use that to get the Legendary, hopefully. But it depends on how the meta changes. Right now the game is really stable, and all 9 classes can be good. The Miracle Rogue is a deck I'd like to run, but I can't run that until I have Edwin Van Cleef, which should be on this page. And the Priest, I'm missing Prophet Velen. The Priest isn't all that great though. It can be good, but it's probably the bottom of the totem pole in terms of decks now. I think also down there with it, arguably, is Paladin, even though I like it. And I'd say Mage. I do think that the Giants Paladin can be great. I think the Control Paladin can be okay. I think Control Mage or Aggro Mage can also be okay. Priest is the only class that I feel is kinda underpowered. It can be good if you know how to play it and if you run it a certain way, depending on the deck list, but it's just so weak in comparison to the others. Overall, everything's really balanced, and I like the meta, and it hasn't changed all that much this month. It's kind of just stayed where it is. There's all these different decks for all these different classes, and people are messing around with different things, and it's very stable. So it's fun to play Hearthstone right now, and it's made me pretty much just play Constructed. I've played very little Arena recently, and I believe my rank right now is 9. Yeah, it's 9. From messing around with things like Murloc. Please don't nerf me. I even used these decks. I just had a lot of fun. But the Paladin's the main one I used. So that's it for the Season 3 decks video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you'd like to see a specific video of the full deck list, me explaining the card synergies, the gameplay, all that stuff of any of the decks I showed, please go ahead and leave a comment below. But for now, that is all. I will see you guys next time in some constructed videos, and I'm going to finally get the arena finished. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like, leave a comment if you have anything to say, and subscribe for more Hearthstone and or Minecraft content. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!